LSU comes off a win over undefeated Missouri on the road, and they move up one spot in the AP poll. LSU is now ranked 22nd in the country, and they're going to be taking on the Auburn Tigers at home, who have yet to get a win in conference play. That's going to be a good one in Death Valley. I remember covering Auburn at LSU a few years back, and the atmosphere is second to none. Meanwhile, Tulane got the week off to prepare for Memphis. We are going to be welcoming in wide receiver Jha'Quan Jackson to break down that matchup.
Looking forward to seeing them get back out there and see what they can do against this team. It's been a little bit of a dogfight the last couple times, so that'll be interesting to see, and it'll be interesting to see if LSU can ever get a stop. But we'll talk about all that right after these ads. Are you ready to experience the magic of Mardi Gras in a whole new way? Welcome to UniqueNolaThrows.com, where they're reimagining the Mardi Gras throw tradition. At UniqueNolaThrows.com, they offer distinctive throws that serve not just as festive accessories, but as keepsakes to cherish beyond the Mardi Gras season. Their products are carefully curated to capture the Mardi Gras spirit in every detail, from light-up headbands that illuminate the night to vibrant scrunchies that add a pop of color to any ensemble. They're committed to keeping their throws affordable, making it easier for everyone to hold a piece of Mardi Gras magic in their hands. Because they believe that every throw counts, they want everyone to experience the joy of giving and receiving a unique and thoughtful throw. They invite you to join them in creating a new narrative for Mardi Gras. UniqueNolaThrows.com is a platform for everyone to express their love for Mardi Gras in a thoughtful manner. They're inspired by the happiness, the camaraderie, and the passion that Mardi Gras stirs in all of us. Visit Unique Nola Throws today to explore their fresh collection and find the perfect keepsakes for your next throw. What could be more thrilling than adding to the carnival atmosphere with items that will be cherished long after the parade? Together, let's redefine Mardi Gras, making each parade more memorable, sustainable, and exciting. UniqueNolaThrows.com, where every throw counts and the spirit of Mardi Gras is alive in each and every one of us. UniqueNolaThrows.com, where the essence of Mardi Gras lives on.
It was another shootout for LSU, this time in Columbia, Missouri. Both teams with over 500 offensive yards, and Jayden Daniels continues to be in the conversation for the Heisman. I think he crept up even a little bit higher. Last week, he was in everybody's kind of like top 5 to top 7 in the Heisman candidacy. But this LSU defense is so bad that it really, I don't see a way that if LSU continues in these shootouts, they're not going to win every one of them. If they keep losing games, it takes that away from Jayden Daniels.
They're like ineffective speed bumps to like just cars just flying through their parking lot. And it's just like, it's just explosive play after explosive play after explosive play. And it's on the ground. It's through the air. It's busted coverages. It's kind of unbelievable to watch. Like Zy Alexander was just kind of, he's out there just chasing you to see 24 going behind people the whole entire game. I think he gave up like 97 yards in this game on a couple of passes, but there is nothing that they can do right now that is effective. Like I broke down their coverages throughout the season, and they have a 104.8 quarterback rating against when they play quarters coverage, 146.8 passer rating against when they play cover 1. Cover 3 is actually okay, 75.9. They have 2 interceptions looking at playing in that coverage. The quarters is their primary coverage. T-Bob mentioned it a couple weeks ago. They've given up 15 plays over 15 yards from that look. So there is nothing they can do right now that works. But I think you got to throw out the quarters, maybe play a little bit more cover 3 because it seems like your team's a little bit more organized with it. But they are just so ineffective right now on defense.
Yeah, and the conversation has to stop being every Monday. Look, they're young, they're inexperienced. Matt House has to make a change. I mean, their passing defense was terrible. Their rush defense, not much better. Missouri's quarterback Brady Cook had 411 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 2 sacks. Running back Cody Schrader had 3 rushing touchdowns and 114 rushing yards. It's just week after week, and a lot of people believed Missouri was maybe a lesser opponent than Ole Miss, but Missouri's offense was still really effective against an LSU defense that just has not been able to find an identity. All right, let's get back to Jayden Daniels a little bit. He could be in a Marvel movie. I know the commentators were calling him Superman. The guy looked like Iron Man, like he was taking hit after hit after hit. He comes out of the game with a rib injury. Not only does he come right back in the next series, on that rib injury, he found the end zone, but the problem is one of your guys on offense has a penalty and completely. And then when Garrett Nussmeier came in, you saw just how valuable Jayden Daniels is. Garrett Nussmeier could not put them in the end zone. They settle for a field goal on that opportunity, but man, Jayden Daniels is really impressive, and we're going to get to some of these plays.
Yeah, I got 3 plays here that I just kind of stood out. I mean, man, we could have picked 15 plays out of this game, but he was just absolutely incredible and just like in a multitude of ways. And just pulling these up, like some of the stuff just kind of speaks for itself. But like on this one here, like you just recognize the pass rush. They're overloading you. They're playing cover 0, and he gets out and he's just absolutely gone. And like there's just nothing you can do when a guy is that effective. This one here, like this isn't an NFL throw by any means, but it was a great throw, just kind of into space. You get Neighbors going over the middle here, coming off the left side, and like he just kind of notices a hole in this zone coverage here. You got 2 safeties.
Is this the 3rd and 3 situation here?
Yeah, I believe so. Like you got 2 guys dropping deep here. You got Neighbors coming up the seam, and Daniels just sees it really quick. You got that hole underneath the coverage. There's going to be a soft spot there. You would have liked to see this throw coming out a little bit earlier, like as if, you know, an NFL type throw, like you're going to throw this before the break even hits because you're seeing it, but you get the break, he sees it. It's a little bit late, but I mean, it's a good throw, and it's just highly, highly effective, and just kind of crazy that Missouri's defense was as bad as LSU's. They're having the same conversations there right now, just about the ineffectiveness. Now, this one I love, like, you just see the hole right here open up.
Yeah, this is actually the 3rd and 3 where Jayden Daniels keeps for 30 yards. I believe this is after the rib injury as well.
Yeah.
The fact that he is able to pull this play off.
But he just sees this open up so quickly. You got the guy in the middle of the field, his back's turned to him. You just see it, and you just know that you're going to have it, and, you know, off you go. Can't stop this guy. And it's even better from the opposite angle here. Yeah, so we got the other angle here, and you just can kind of see it open up, and just the recognition as soon as that guy drops, like he knows what he's doing. He's counting the box. There's nobody in the box here. It's a soft box. Like I guarantee he throws it if it's different, but they give him a soft box. He has the advantage. You're just going to do a quick count here. 1, 2, 3, 4. You got a 5th guy on the other side. He doesn't count. So it's basically, you know, it's so advantageous. And as soon as you see that, you're going. Every single time, if you're this guy, you can run like him. It's just such a easy play. And then, you know, to finish it. And yeah, he took the hit. I think that's the play he actually got hurt on. But he played unbelievable throughout this game. No question.
Yeah, he did. And quickly on that, when they settled for the field goal, they even missed it. It was a 28-yard field goal that ended up swinging outside and weren't able to score when Jayden Daniels had punched it in, got injured on the play. Garrett Nussmeier came in and couldn't finish it. I think not enough people are talking about Jayden Daniels and just his ability. Look, I know it's college. Like a lot of this stuff might not translate to the NFL with his running ability, but it could. I mean, he is able to tear you apart on the ground and in the air. We see a lot of these passes to Malik Neighbors that maybe Jayden wasn't completing a couple of years ago, but he's been able to find Brian Thomas Jr. as well, Malik Neighbors through the air, and has been able to show off the talent of these 2 receivers now that are gaining national attention. Yeah,
it was kind of crazy too. Just the coverage. Again, to go back to it, like Missouri, they let Neighbors go free on a play for a touchdown. Thomas got behind him on another one. Like they're the same issues, but look, you can only throw against the coverage you're seeing, and he's recognizing these breaks really quickly and getting the ball out. Again, like there's a couple times where you'd like to see it.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking at it, like you know, I look at things through like kind of like the NFL prism, and you're like, they should do this. Like this is an NFL throw. This isn't. Some of the stuff needs to be a touch quicker, but he's seeing it. He's getting the ball there, and he's been absolutely unbelievable. It's crazy to watch him play.
Yeah, and with under 3 minutes to go, even Jayden Daniels, when he found Malik Neighbors wide open for the easy touchdown, they went up 42-39 in that situation. But there was this point in the game, and you and I were watching this play actually on the plane on the way to Boston. It was the 32-27 Missouri touchdown. So there was a false start on Missouri's left guard, which all the defensive linemen started pointing it out, got out of their 3-point stance, and then Missouri punches it in and they don't call it. How do you not see a false start on the offensive line? How many refs do you have on the field? Like, to me, it was just so bizarre. And then you saw some other penalties being called for defenders clapping. And that's I guess a new rule that they're implementing, that if it interferes with the snap count, if the quarterback essentially claps to get the ball out, you can't clap on the defensive side of the ball. But how many times do we see guys just getting like excited for a play and whatever? It's not necessarily that they're trying to get the offensive line out of rhythm. It was such a weird thing to see. I think that penalty was called 3 times. And Eli Drinkowitz, even the Missouri head coach, said it's a disconcerting signal. Like, that's something that I would think has to go away.
Yeah, I mean, that's just people clap. Like, it's just something that happens, especially in just, I don't know, it's competitive situations where you have emotions going. Look, my thing on the false start, though, is you got to get down and you got to play. Like, if they aren't calling it, like, get down and play. Yeah. Like, you gave up a touchdown because everybody's just kind of okay, but like, it's not going to go your way here. Like, so play through it. Recognize that the flag isn't coming. But yeah, I mean, you got to see it. That doesn't excuse the officiating, but like, you just see those situations happen too often that you can't assume that something's going to come. So you try to point it out and then get back down and finish the play. So, I mean, definitely a tough break in that situation, though. And
I don't want to totally say that the defense was just outright bad in this game. Look, we did see some things from Harold Perkins and Mason Smith. We saw the Major Burns pick 6 at the end, but I mean, this defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. Like, on some of these drives, they were just running the ball right back down the field. And even at the end of the game, like, can you help your quarterback out a little bit? Like, he's got a rib injury. Maybe give him 5 to 6 minutes. You know, they couldn't. They literally could not get the Missouri offense off the field in some of these plays. It just, to me, I don't know how you get it fixed this late into the season, but it's so bad.
Yeah, I think they just kind of are who they are. Like you said, Mason Smith, he had like 5 pressures. I thought he looked really good in this game. We were kind of waiting to see that. Perk had some good plays in pass coverage. So, yeah, there was definitely some positives, but man, it's just like silver linings in a just completely like totally blacked out barrel. Like, it's not enough. There's not enough light coming in through there, and they aren't going to find a way to get it. I kind of just think this is who they are, and if they're going to win games, it's going to be up to Jayden Daniels to be, Iron Man every single week.
Yeah, right now the offense and defense are on 2 different planets, and we're going to bring in T-Bob to break everything down as LSU gets set to take on Auburn next. We welcome in T-Bob Hebert, now former LSU offensive lineman. You can hear him on the radio, ESPN Baton Rouge, and also listen to his podcast on Snaps. T-Bob, why on earth is this defense so inconsistent and so bad? I know they're going to be masked by this pick 6 at the end of the game. I'm not buying it. What, at this point, does Matt House have to do to change things, or is it beyond repair?
Okay. Well, okay. So the why is an interesting avenue to getting, I think, into the latter half of your question there. Why is the defense bad? It's a mixture of things. And the secondary, I would say it's mainly personnel related. Now, no doubt the secondary has been so poor that maybe they're not playing the right. Like, you could say everything is going to be some of everything. So all of this is a mixture of coaching and players, but I'll try to tell you where I think the majority lies in each position. So in the secondary, I think it's mainly personnel related. At linebacker, they're not awful at linebacker. I really like Whit Weeks. There's an injury to Omar Spates. That's a guy who got from Oregon State. Was an all Pac-12 linebacker. Like, I don't think you've really gotten to see a full fair look at Omar Spates. Greg Pinn's maybe a bit of a personnel issue. The defensive line, you have really strong players. Yeah. So it's not that, because you're returning 2 All-Americans. That's where you get into, okay, no, you know what? Maybe I mean, that's coaching. Right, you lose Lindsey right. Coach Lindsey was supposed to be your D-line coach. He gets sick right before the season starts. You replace him with John Jancic, a guy that doesn't coach D-line, and it's been a complete and utter disaster. I mean, we talked about it on this show, right? Them lining up a yard and a half off the ball, catching, being reactive instead of dictate, instead of taking the initiative. Well, you bring in the Yoda of D-line play in 82-year-old Pete Jenkins, and lo and behold, quite literally, this has been confirmed through multiple avenues now, including publicly by players and coaches. The first thing Pete Jenkins said was, "We're going to get on the line of scrimmage, so we're going to scoot up." So it's a anytime you are the 128th defense in the country in terms of stop rate, dead last in the Power 5, when you're last in the SEC in rush defense, second last in pass, last in total defense, it's a number of elements that are a perfect storm of bad that is coming together to make that statistical output a reality. That said, it is in that front seven where maybe a glimmer of hope lies, and not a glimmer of hope that you're ever going to be great, not a glimmer of hope that by season's end you'll be ranked in the average. You probably have too much bad already built up to this point, but there can be improvement in that defensive front. And you started to see some of it against Mizzou. Even though nobody wants to talk about this, I love the form of Harold Perkins. He's really settled in that nickel Sam role. For the third or fourth game in a row now, he's been both affecting the game in coverage and rushing the passer.
Yeah, he came up with some big stops in the game too. And that's the frustrating thing too, is they have talent on defense. It's just one or two guys.
Well, they have some.
Yeah,
they have some,
one or two
right?
guys.
I mean, they got Perkins.
Smith.
Mekhi Wingo's a bona fide talent. I believe Mason Smith is, though it's been hard to get a full fair look at Smith after with the coaching turnover, right? Like I think Pete Jenkins is the best thing that ever happened to Mason Smith, and you'll continue to see that as the season goes on. So there's this in terms of improvement. I would say I think Jenkins is going to help with the front seven a ton, and the schedule does lighten up a bit. Okay. You're probably not going, I mean, the Alabama offense is going to be tough, successful. A&M's okay. But you don't have a quarterback left on this schedule like a Jordan Travis, a Brady Cook, or like a Jackson Dart. So, I mean, you look at this weekend with Auburn. Well, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that LSU is going to shut down Auburn. They should have much more success against Auburn than they have against these other offenses, because it's an Auburn offense that can't really find its way either right now. So the defense is a disaster for a myriad of reasons, and there's maybe a glimmer of hope for improvement, but ultimately it's just, can you do what you did against Mizzou? Can you come up with enough stops to win the game? And that's just the reality in which LSU is going to exist week in and week out this year.
All right, I'm going to give you a couple stats here. You made me go look something up and figure it out. And I don't know, maybe I'm setting you up for failure, but maybe you can contextualize this. So You mentioned they played quarters, that was their primary coverage, and it is 83 snaps this year. 104.8 quarterback rating against when in it. Cover 3 is their second most used coverage, 79 snaps, 75.9 quarterback rating against. Cover 1, 146.8 quarterback rating against. 2 picks out of cover 3, no picks out of the other 2 coverages. Should they just play cover 3? Like, would it help?
I mean, after you rattling off those numbers, why would you not? Right? Like, objectively, that would seem to be where the data is sending them. But this is a bit like, it's like the Pete Carmichael Saints stuff and the lack of motion and play action. Like, all the elements say, wait, Derek Carr's really good at this. Oh, wait, the offense has success and we do this. Why don't we do this more? I don't know, Nick. This is where I feel the ignorance of, the classic outsider looking in, because I've never been in these coaches' meeting rooms. So I don't know how they arrive at the decisions that they do. And it's funny because you can be here on the outside looking in and you can clearly see that it doesn't make sense. And a lot of times you get validated, like you yourself just did with the Saints, where, okay, all of a sudden on Sunday, they end up motioning 17 of the 17 plays and ends up paying dividends. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would love to bring that up or to somehow get that in front of the coaches in case they are somehow unaware of it, just how much more successful cover 3 has been. I'm going to be very interested to see how they attack this Auburn team. Because like I said, the quarterbacks are not the best. The skill weapons are not the best. This Auburn team plays tough. They've got a good offensive line. They run the ball well with a lot of pre-snap movement out of this kind of pseudo triple option type deal they're created. But I'm wondering, do you maybe just try to sell out, add numbers, see if you can play him little man, or do you try maybe go cover 3 after hearing that and you try to force him to play underneath and earn on a play-to-play basis? The defense is so bad that it feels like there's no right answer, but I'm very intrigued to see how they game plan this one against Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, speaking of Hugh Freeze, he had some good things to say about Jayden Daniels and the way this offense has been running. When's the last time there was a Heisman-like player that didn't necessarily get the Heisman conversation or end up in the top 3 because the team around him couldn't get things together like the LSU defense is right now? I mean, is it a possibility that this team doesn't finish in the playoffs, but Jayden Daniels still gets the trip to New York?
I've made this up, but I keep saying it like I have it on some kind of authority. I'm not like a Heisman voter or anything. If I'm reading the room, what I think is if Jayden Daniels beats Alabama and wins the West, I think he goes to New York. I think if you manage to win the entire SEC, I think he has a very good shot at maybe taking that thing home. I think if he does neither of these things, then he probably has a great year that does not end up in the Big Apple. And the reason being is, like, if you look back at like 3-loss Tebow when he won the Heisman, RG3 out of Baylor when he won the Heisman, Manziel out of A&M, these guys were major statistical outliers at the time. Like, they were so clearly far and above the pack that they forced their way. Jayden Daniels, make no mistake, it's the second best LSU season of all time to Joe Burrow. And with the right wins, it is Heisman worthy. But if you look around the country right now, he's not necessarily an outlier. Like, he's awesome. He's first in total yards, second in touchdowns accounted for. I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on, but no, like, he's awesome. But, you know, Caleb Williams, his numbers are awesome. USC's undefeated. Michael Penix Jr. is right there with him. His numbers are awesome. Washington's undefeated. Bo Nix has incredible quarterback numbers. Oregon's undefeated. Georgia's probably going to win the SEC and be undefeated. And you're going to have, I mean, some will say Carson Beck, who does have pretty good numbers, but I think Brock Bowers, the tight end, right? He is an outlier. Like, if you look at the top receivers in the country right now, Brock Bowers is like 19th. He's the only tight end at that point. He's 19th at 90 yards a game. That number is only going to go up as they throw the ball more and more. The next tight end is Ibuka from Ohio State, and he's all the way down in the 90s at 60 yards a game. So, like, he's an outlier. So it's a weird year where, without the wins and relative to how some of the numbers that his peers are putting up as well, I just don't think you can find your way to New York unless the team accomplishes some wins.
Do you think, like, can they maintain this? Can you rely on this offense to put up these kind of numbers every single week? And if so, like, is it possible?
At a certain point, I think you got to give yourself over to it, you know? Like, if we keep asking, is it possible? Is it possible? And then it keeps happening. I went through the same thing with Joe Burrow a few years ago, where we've kind of lost perspective on just how bad the LSU offensive quarterback play had been for the decade before. It just felt so unsustainable. And then you look up and he's thrown for 60 touchdowns by the end of the year. Now, I will say, Nick, to answer, like, I think this weekend's game will tell me a lot about whether or not that's true, because the best defenses are still left to play here. Yeah. I think this Auburn team is the best in the trenches that they've faced since Florida State, and I don't think it's close. A&M has maybe the best front seven in the entire country. If they don't, Alabama might, right? So this offense, I trust him, and I trust his O-line against anybody. But yeah, I mean, to your point, it is harder to see 500 yards, 5 touchdowns accounted for against Alabama, A&M, and Auburn than it was maybe against Ole Miss, Mizzou, and well, everybody else that they played so far.
Yeah, and Auburn, they do have the SEC leader in interceptions, Jalen Simpson, the cornerback at Auburn. He could give Jayden Daniels some fits, and this defense is also holding teams to 18 points per game. The fact that Auburn was able to hang with Georgia, to me, and given some of these defensive numbers, LSU could have a problem at home against Auburn.
I think that LSU wins this game. I think the home factor is massive. I think you have an LSU team that's been on the road for the first 6 games. They're excited to be back. It's going to be nighttime at Tiger Stadium. It's going to be one of the only times where the stadium actually reaches what we kind of think of Tiger Stadium when you hear about the mythology of it. It hits that like once or twice a year. This will be one of the times. I think they win. I think the question of covering the 10.5 is much more interesting. And at first I was kind of like, man, like LSU's offense is so overwhelming. The defense is bad, but they played better last game, and Auburn's offense is really bad. Auburn's leading receiver has like 180 yards, and it's a tight end. Malik Neighbors gets that in a game. And so you're kind of like, okay, like this, and they're at home, like LSU. Yeah, I was like, oh, maybe they cover the 10.5. But then a couple things gave me pause. First is the LSU Auburn game always gets crazy. Like it just always does, no matter who's good, who's bad. It creates just these wild moments. What you just said, Brooke, I mean, they hung with Georgia, granted it's in Jordan-Hare, but still, if you're going to hang with Georgia, I think you can hang with LSU. And then I start watching the film and I see that, okay, you know what? This team is good on the offensive and defensive lines. And regardless of what you want to say about the explosive threat of what they're bringing to bear offensively. They got buy-in. Like, everybody plays hard. They block hard. The receivers know they got to block. Their asses out there holding down blocks. Like, it's not like guys are rolling their eyes. Like, whatever Hugh Freeze, whatever message he is selling them, they appear bought in on. So I like LSU to win. I'm not going to play the game. If I was, I would not take them to cover. It's probably it never shocks me if this is a one-score game.
What's kind of your feel on Brian Kelly right now? I know he's taken a lot of criticism kind of the way that this season has started. Do you feel like he's out of the woods at this point? Do you think he's above that criticism, or is he still kind of, the crosshairs are still up a little bit?
No, it's the classic college football rule, dude. If you win last Saturday, it's pretty chill. If you lose, we're like trying to find out if you've been like running around, like what's going on. Sure. Are there any text messages that need to be exposed? No, I mean, college football is the classic "what have you done for me lately?" Situation. And last week they won, so it's all good. You know,
there you go.
Yeah.
Lose to Auburn though, and just wait.
It could be an issue.
The message boards will be a flame, and people will be talking about how I told you Brian Kelly. I mean, there is more. I will say this: his approval rating was near 100% after winning the West last year. Throughout the offseason, I would say that has gone down pretty significantly. Like, it was thought that you were just going to kind of be this auto 10-win, favorite in the West, championship contender type of team, and now you have the literal worst defense in the Power 5 and 128th in the country. So that has dinged the investor confidence quite significantly.
Yeah, last thing about Auburn, T-Bob, they're running the ball well. Again, they haven't won a conference game. They're 0-2 with losses to Texas A&M on the road and then to Georgia at home. Texas A&M, in my opinion, is better than we probably expected heading into the season. But with Auburn running the ball as well as they are, could it be a trap game at home? I don't even like calling it that, because you mentioned it too. I remember covering Auburn at LSU a couple of years ago, and it's just right there. It's back and forth. Whoever's got the ball last typically wins the game. But Auburn's run game could really affect this defense that couldn't stop anything against Missouri.
Well, we will see, right? Because that's where we get into matchups. And Auburn does not have a Luther Burden. If you think back to Florida State, they don't have a Keon Coleman. They don't even have a Quishon Judkins like Ole Miss had at running back, right? So I don't think Auburn's skill positions are as well suited to exploiting you. Now, if we look at the one time the defense looked great this year, it was Mississippi State. There's another team that couldn't really throw the ball and wanted to run it. Now, granted, it was more of a traditional rushing attack, easier to defend, and that I think played into LSU's hands. But I guess the idea here would be that guys like Greg Penn, who may be struggling coverage a bit or haven't played their best. So this is like a game where maybe they could shine, right? If you're talking about run fits, if you're talking about being able to play downhill and not really worry about the pass as much, like we said, if you want to try to man up and add numbers in, like the only thing that gives me pause from saying I think the defense will have a good outing is I think this is a very good offensive line. And if you remember why I was so wrong in the Arkansas game was a mixture of undervaluing Arkansas's O-line and overvaluing LSU's defensive line. That played into Ole Miss as well, where Ole Miss got their shit pushed in by Tulane, but then LSU got dominated by it. I mean, blown off the ball. So I had to start grading things on a curve, right? Okay, well, I gotta knock the other team's O-line up based on what I've seen at LSU. Well, I already think this Auburn offensive line is good. So I'm going to bump it up even more. So that gives me a bit of cause of concern. And that's where somebody like Pete Jenkins maybe comes into play, affecting some sort of change, getting more out of this D-line than you were previously.
All right, so you heard him bet everything you got on LSU not to cover and send all complaints to T-Bob. He's an independent contractor. We're not responsible for that betting advice.
This is a classic stay away spot for me. This honestly should have been the same way that I treated the Arkansas game.
Yeah.
Because that's another one of those weird college rivalries that always seems to just like surprise you, and what a battle it ends up being. I mean, even last year in Fayetteville, they have no KJ Jefferson. You're rolling at that time. You just beat Alabama. You're like, oh my God, dude, we're good. And you like barely escape with a 3-point win. So, these lessons are hard learned, but if you want to bet it, yeah, I wouldn't. Never mind.
All right, man. We appreciate you coming on. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, T-Bob.
All right, Nick. All right, Brooke. Have a great day. Later, y'all.
You too. Tulane and Memphis both come off having a bye week. Tulane has not fared well at Memphis. They've gone 2-15 on the road against Memphis. And this Tulane team has actually never beat Memphis at Memphis. And the games were really never close. In 2021, Tulane lost 33-28. In 2019, they lost 47-17. And in 2017, they got whooped 56-26.
Son of a gun. That's a big deficit there. Yeah, they're going to have to play a lot better this week. I mean, you look at some of the stuff Memphis does, like I think that they can go maybe air it out a little bit. There's some stuff in their defense that I think could be advantageous for this Tulane offense, but they got to show up. Look, they've had 2 weeks to prepare for this, and they got to come out and they got to play better than they have on the road there.
We're going to have Jha'Quan out in a little bit, and he talked about, look, we're 100% healthy. Of course he's going to say that when he's on camera. Look, we saw Michael Pratt limping around on that knee. He's not going to be at full strength. We still don't know what the situation is with the starting guards. They potentially could get one of those guys back, but I'm thinking that either the left or right guard is going to be unavailable against Memphis. But it's college football, and we'll see if those guys just get rolled out there like we saw Michael Pratt playing through some pain. But this time last year, Tulane beat Memphis at home 38-28 on the back of Tajay Spears, who rushed for 125 yards and a touchdown. Jha'Quan also returned a punt for 90 yards. We'll see if he can repeat this weekend, but it looks like he's been really good in the return game this year, and that could be an opportunity for them to get points on the board.
One of the other things they got to do, their third down defense, it's got to keep showing up.
Yeah.
I know you've been pretty high on that. What's some of the stuff that, just what's looked good about that to you?
Well, it's just like hats to the ball. I mean, this defense, especially coming off the season they had last year, there was a lot of expectations of can they maintain these third down and fourth down numbers, which Tulane, I mean, you go back to that Kansas State game last year and their defense was just swarming the Kansas State team. And look, it was a good Kansas State team. They're good this year. Can this defense continue, though, against a Memphis team that is good for their run game? That's, to me, where this battle might get won for Memphis.
On the flip side, too, I think Tulane kind of needs to win it on the ground. Hughes has to keep playing the way he's been playing. They're a better team with him. Are you buying into kind of his progress that we've seen over the last couple of weeks?
Well, so Memphis is giving up 148.8 rushing yards per game. I think Mekhi Hughes can take advantage of that. Look, 22 carries for 127 rushing yards versus UAB and 2 rushing touchdowns. They got to stop letting Pratt run the football, especially if he's dealing with a knee injury. So Mekhi Hughes can really step up in there. And real quickly on Tulane's third down, they're top 20 in the country in third down conversion percentage as a defense at 0.318. It's pretty good. And Memphis is only converting 37% of their third downs. So could tip the scales in Tulane's favor.
Yeah, he needs to learn how to slide. Like he runs into contact.
He won't.
And it's just
they yell at him. I mean, the offensive line, the players, the coaches are screaming at him, please slide. It's just not his game. You talk about Joe Burrow. He can't. How long did it take him to slide in the NFL? That's what you're getting with Michael Pratt.
Yeah, and part of you loves it, but part of you just hates it. Like, just slide, man. Don't take the hit. Live to fight another down. Another person that was sliding a little bit, Troy Dannon, kind of slid into some crap this week with his commentary about Tulane. He said, I want to go someplace where you can win. I love Tulane. You're not going to win a national championship at Tulane. You can win a national championship here being Washington, and it's been proven. Kind of a rough statement to make on your way out the door from a place that's kind of been supportive of you.
Look, he's not wrong, but why do you have to make that comment? I mean, he just started with Washington Monday, I believe, was his first day on the job. And it's, look, I understand he sits down with a group of guys that have a successful podcast, and they're going to ask that question of, why did you pick this job over Tulane? He could have had the politically correct answer, but he went with what he went, and he said that he can't win a national championship at Tulane. Again, I don't want to fault him for saying it because it's true, but it's also just the biggest slap in the face to a program you just spent 8 years with. And look, he has had success. He hired Willie Fritz, and he kept him at Tulane after the whole Georgia Tech noise, which, in my opinion, Willie Fritz already had a step out the door and could have potentially had that job, but we saw how that all came to be. It kind of just blew up. It didn't work out. He did hire Ron Hunter, who has been a good men's basketball coach for Tulane. He spent 7 years at Northern Iowa before being at Tulane. So this is a guy who's just trying to climb the ladder like a lot of athletic directors do. And the one thing I don't love is when he says, I can win a national championship at Washington. You're not winning anything this year. That team is. You didn't do it. You didn't change anything. You didn't add anything. Are you going to maybe in the future years? Yeah, but don't take that away from it. To me, it's a slight to Washington as well of I'm just going here to ride your coattails. Okay, guy. Like that's not cool. And Washington is making the jump from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten next summer. And Troy Dannon does work with the NCAA on a lot of different committees. So I can see why he is a big benefit. He can pull the NCAA in Washington's direction a little bit, but bad comment.
Yeah, he could have just said the second half of it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't have to say anything about it bad about Tulane.
Yeah.
Everybody understands this move. You take a job at Tulane so you get to the bigger school. And then from Washington, if he has the opportunity to go somewhere even bigger, you move on from there as well. That's just a natural progression through things. Everybody knows what Tulane is, but you just built this program. You built it up into something pretty special. You didn't have to just take a dump on it on the way out. It doesn't make sense to me. He could have been way more classy about it. Could have just said, you know, hey, like, I want to go here and win national championships. There's more resources. It's a bigger school. Okay, cool. We get it. Like, everybody understands it. He didn't have to say all that.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear, too, what Jha'Quan Jackson has to say about this, because we're talking about what we see on the outside. He's going to bring us inside, and we bring in Jha'Quan now. We welcome Tulane wide receiver Jha'Quan Jackson back into the studio, fresh off a bye week. How's the team feeling? Everybody rested up and ready to go?
Oh, yeah, it feels great. You know, it's always great to have like a 2-week break and get our bodies right, you know, just get into the training room and just it's always great to have 2 weeks to study your opponent because you don't have to really jump in it so fast and just worry about what can we do and where can we get better at and then focus on the next week, focus on that team that you're playing.
What was the schedule last week and this week as you guys are preparing for Memphis? How does it maybe change with the bye week?
Last week we just as I stated that we focus on like what can we fix and how we can look at ourselves in the mirror and who we are, what can we get better at, and then the next week we just started to focus on Memphis and what they do and how they do things and you know the game plan.
Memphis, that's kind of been a tough spot for you guys. In fact, what is it about going there that makes it kind of a difficult atmosphere to play in?
I really, you know, history since we've been going to Memphis, it was Brooke just had looked it up 2-15. I remember 19 when we went there. Then I think 20 or 21 when we went there, we lost. But I don't know what it is. It just I believe that we got better as it went on. You know, when it comes to our house, that we win. But Coach Fritz prepared us well, and other coaches prepared us well for this week just to go out there and execute and play the game. You know, it's on ESPN, national television. Everybody can watch it in the nation. So we got to be on our A game.
Yeah, what is it going to take to get a win at Memphis based on what you've seen from them this year and what they're kind of doing well? Where do you guys feel like you can exploit their defense?
We know it's going to be a big game, you know. We just got to go out there and just do what we do, you know. Do 11 people executing, you know what I'm saying, doing it 1-11, you know. If we go out there and try to do too much, it's going to be a disaster. Just do it. It's going to be a regular game. It ain't nothing different from the game that we playing from last week to this week to the week before, you know, just going out there and play football.
You had success against them previously. What's it going to take to get another special team score out of you? Do you remember that return?
Yes, 90 yards. Yeah, I'll kick this coverage 90 yards to the house. But Coach McMahon do a great job of showing us their punt team and the special team four-quarter phases and just getting us well prepared. You never know. They kick it to me. It's gonna be a big play. You know, sometimes they don't kick it to me or put a lot of hang time to it, but whenever it comes to me, I'm gonna try to make it happen, you know. But you can't dictate that until game time.
You mentioned last week it was kind of like about self-scouting a little bit and looking at some of the stuff you guys have done. Is there anything that the team learned or you learned about yourself that you think might be beneficial going forward?
First off, it's just making the catches on third down, the conversions. I know we had struggled with that on third down, just catching the ball. I dropped 2, I think, that could have helped us in a couple games. But, you know, just coach talk about the next play. That's it. And then when we get in the red zone, we got to 4-point plays. You got to go score, you know. You know, a lot of people get in the red zone and you have to score. Like, that's the motto. Why you get all the way down there and you can't score, you know. Yeah. And that's one of the things we fix, you know, just going down there and making sure we put it in the paint.
You guys saw improvement in the run game against UAB. What do you need to see from Mekhi Hughes Saturday in order to get that run game going and maybe show some consistency too from a guy who's looking to fill in that role as running back one?
Really just I talked to him today, man. I told him at lunch just before I came here. I was telling him, man, I said, "Come on, man, you got to come with it." But he does a great job, Coach Carter. Just not even just him, but Coach Carter have all the running backs prepared to go out there and play their best game, and whoever's the high hand go out there and do their thing. I don't just not the type of person that just he do this, he do that. It's a team sport, Just we behind everybody.
And just Troy Dannon had some comments this week. I don't know if you guys were aware of him. He said, "I want to go someplace where you can win. I love Tulane. You're not going to win a national championship at Tulane. You can win national championships here in Washington, and it's been proven." Just as an athlete at the school, I don't know, like just kind of when you heard that, like what was the reaction, and just kind of what are the conversations been about that?
Really, there have been a lot of conversations. I believe not from inside the facility. Talked about just the outside noise, the fans and everything and their opinions, but nobody never really mentioned it around inside the facility, and we never paid attention to it unless it's on Twitter or social media. Yeah. But that's his opinion. We can't really do nothing about it. We just gotta worry about the main thing and just winning this game. Just like the distractions were not too long ago last year going into the championship game. I think they said Coach Fisk was gonna leave. That's just distractions. We don't worry about that. We just worry about what's on the inside, not on the outside.
Is this one even kind of like a distraction, though? Or are you guys so insulated kind of from the AD and all that stuff that it's like you guys are doing what you're doing, you got your coach, you got each other, and you're just kind of moving forward?
Really, you could say yes and no, but at the end of the day, Troy did what he did at Tulane. He did the best that he can do. Like, he put his all into it. And me, I look at it, I always had a great relationship with him. He treated me well. He treated the team well. He did what he did at Tulane. He went to Washington, and that's his new home now. The only thing I could do is say congratulations and just respect the man. That's his opinion.
What was his relationship like with the team? How was he kind of behind the cameras and things like that, just around you guys week to week?
He worked his tail off. I give you that. Like, every time you see him, he happy. He engaged with everybody, not just one person. He tried to get to know everybody, and just he's there when you need him. Every time I text him, he texts me back.
So it seems like the relationship was good when he left.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
Thinking about practice.
Yeah, no, but it's sometimes it happens like that on social media. We see that with the Saints in our coverage sometimes, that what you see on social media isn't necessarily what the team is reflecting. We got to ask you about some of these injuries, though. How is Pratt looking this week? And also the two offensive guards that were down with injury.
We 100% healthy, 100% healthy, ready full effect, and ready to go down there and play football, Tulane football.
Y'all got something special for Memphis this week?
Regular game plan. Ain't nothing special. It's regular game plan. Go out there and just do what we do. It's just a football game. You can't try to put too much, and then it overwhelms us, and then we go out there and try to think about it hard. It just coaches come up with a game plan to where he knows that everybody on the team can just be confident in what they're doing or what they call, and just go out there and execute.
I don't know, man. You were talking about that install. What do you say? Get the fireman?
Oh, yeah, that was last week. That was last week versus
it's locking in now.
Yeah, we locked in now, but I know, just like I said, each week Coach Nick and the coach come up with a great game plan. One of the things we do, got to start the game off fast, I think first 2 or 3 games we started the game off with scoring the first series, and I think the 3rd game we didn't. So we just got to get back on track with that and just finishing the game.
How is Memphis maybe different from the other teams that you've faced so far this year? We know they historically run the ball pretty well, but based on you've only faced UAB in the conference so far, but from the other teams that you've faced, how are they maybe different of the challenge they present different?
I probably say they're really not a difference. All of the teams is the same. They're all well coached. They're disciplined. They do what they're in the right spots at the right time. They play football. Coach Ryan over there does a great job with his coaches and players and have them right. He's been there, I think, 4 to 6 years. So you expect them to be a great team now to the past few years, and just the culture when Coach Fish got there, just building. So just as I said, the DB's great, the D-line, offense, the running back, the quarterbacks, the receivers, they all good. Just got to go out there and play football, and, it's going to be a tough one. It's not going to be easy playing this game of football.
Jha'Quan, kind of big picture coming off the bye, just kind of maybe a point of reflection. Where do you feel like the team's at overall, and like what you guys have accomplished? Like, do you feel like you're rounding into the form you want to be in?
Yes, we still have more to prove. You always can improve in different part of your games, but right now I say we're in a good spot. Just coming off the bye week, I kind of like bye weeks and I kind of don't like it because at the same time you're in that groove where you hot and then the bye week you flat, then you're coming back to a game. So it's like starting all over for the first game of the season, but you gotta have that mindset like we just came off a game from last week, but it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be bumps and bruises because we didn't play football in 2 weeks. When you play football in 2 weeks, sometimes I ain't going to say forget how to play football, but it just kind of, you ain't hit nobody in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You and Memphis both had the bye week too, so at least there's no advantage there on either side. You guys are both going to be trying to get back in the mix, but we appreciate you coming on, Jha'Quan. We'll have you back in studio after you guys get back from Memphis, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you. Thank you.